Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to anybody who's joined us to talk about Synergies, new opportunities on the horizon, these virtual research innovation days, which has been somewhat of a challenge to put on, I think, but there we are. You can ask questions on the screen, and we will give replies later on. You'll also have the opportunity to talk to us later. There's an opportunity for you to ask us to have a session one-to-one with us. You can do that with my colleagues English, German or French, and thanks to the technical colleagues who are here who are making a big effort to get us right. So, synergies are much talked about. Are they seen? Well, yes they are, but it can be a lot better. And in the time that I've been responsible for this file, we've done a lot of interviews, a lot of studies, and tried to take a strategic view to where we need to go on synergies. It's not just about moving money around, it's much more about aligning strategies to try to get the deployment of results. It is already happening with funding, sequential funding, leading to the deployment of innovative solutions. But I think Horizon Europe brings a lot of new possibilities. And we have an annex to the regulation which tries to look at synergies not just from the point of view of research, but from the point of view of other programs as well. We have a new approach to partnerships where we tried to start with synergies built in from the start, saying if you want to create a partnership, you have to tell us how you're going to work in synergy with other programs, with other sources of financing. We have missions, which is sort of the final step, if you like, to where we're going on missions. Missions must build in synergies between research and deployment and other programs, otherwise they won't work. And just new ways of getting innovative ideas deployed in the real world. So we've got 4 speakers today that I hope will reflect the whole variety of what we're doing. First of all, we have Sabine Klok from the Netherlands, who is responsible for trying to bring together research and innovation funds and regional funds. So hopefully she'll give us the national and regional perspective to this question. We have, I hope, Larry Evans, who as well as being a very highly regarded former Director General here at the Commission, is also on the mission boards for oceans, and I hope that she will give us the missions perspective. We have Gernot Marx, who is a professor at the Aachen University, and he has done a lot of work on innovative financing methods using what we call pre-commercial procurement, innovative public procurement, with very interesting possibilities. Give us a practitioner perspective, I hope. And Philippe Mengal from the Bio-Based Industries Joint Undertaking, give us a partnership perspective. I know from speaking to Philippe in the past that from the moment that he took over at BBI, he realized that research was never going to be enough in his area. He had to work with other programs, with regions, with member states to try to really ensure that the ideas were going to be deployed. So a mixture of real-life experience, demands for the future, I hope, people who have already had to face up to these challenges, and I hope that will be enough for interesting conversations. So perhaps we could just start with Sabine Klok from the Netherlands. Perhaps you could give us your perspective from what sort of work that you're doing.
Yes, thank you very much, Paul. And thank you also very much for organizing this online. This is my very first online panel ever, and I have to say it looks very nice. It is a bit of a challenge to fit your head into the frame, but it looks very nice. So a lot of compliments for this. I would have rather been in Brussels, but this really compensates for it. I would also like to give a compliment to the Commission on the work it has done on synergies. I think a lot of effort has been put to really make synergies in the next MFF. So we're mentioning indeed the Annex IV of the Horizon regulation really shows where the synergies are with the other programs. I think in the overall MFF as such, like decreasing the amount of spending programs should really help to have more complementarity and synergies between the programs. Also, putting all the innovative financial instruments in one umbrella in the InvestEU, I think this is a really good idea. Also integrating the agricultural innovation part within Horizon. I think all these elements help for synergies. And as you were also mentioning, the Horizon Europe program as such, with integration of missions. This really helps to have a better focus and automatically link these societal challenges to other programs. But I'm sure that Laurie will tell us much more about the missions. However, I remain Dutch, of course, so I'm also somewhat critical, or let me say worried. We have less programs now, but we have also some new programs with a kind of similarity aspects as Horizon, like the new Digital Europe program in Annex IV. It clearly shows the opportunities, but I also see a risk there with overlap. Same goes for the Just Transition Fund and its broader Just Transition mechanism. There in the Netherlands, we will probably focus a lot of this monies on innovation, for example, on hydrogen, the development of green energy. So also there I see possibility for synergy, but also a risk to overlap. And then, of course, also we had the COVID-19 crisis. I think the Commission really acted fast on this with this proposal for the Next Generation package. Also very happy that this was approved by heads of state and government. But with this new recovery and resilience facility, I think it's even more important to really look into synergies between the European programs with Horizon, but also with national innovation policies. Well, that's actually what we also try to do in the Netherlands. We integrated all aspects of innovation policy in one directorate, so nationally, internationally, European, in one ministry. I started working at the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate in January, and I'm leading there the team for European policies, European innovation policies, and this indeed includes Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe, but also all the structural funds, so the ERDF and the Just Transition Fund, but also broader Eureka. And within this directorate, we are really looking for common strategies, try to ensure a good exchange of information, and ensure also the deployment of results at regional, national, European, and international level. To explain it a bit more, I think it would be good to explain the Dutch innovation policy. We have the so-called mission-driven top sector innovation policy. That's really a mouthful. And it is kind of extensive. We started in 2011 with selecting 9 so-called top sectors. It's agri, food, health, chemistry, logistics, etc. And for each of these top sectors, we selected a team which creates an agenda to lay out the economic chances for this sector. And there we also included a strategy for knowledge and innovation. In April 2019, as also in Horizon Europe, we also nationally added missions to these top sectors. We have a bit more missions than in Horizon Europe. We have 25, but these are really like small missions. So if you look at the overall missions, I think it's kind of it's not that much more. Our missions in the Netherlands, they focus on health, on clean water and safe food. Also on green, on lower greenhouse gas emissions and affordable sustainable energy. And it focuses on security, so to achieve a safe Netherlands to work and live in. So for us, the same goes as in Horizon, that we use the innovative strength of these top sectors to address societal challenges. And for this, the use of like key enabling technologies, quantum, nano, photonics, digital, is all very important to achieve these solutions. So for this, we also have, for the period 2020-23, we have a knowledge and innovation covenant where we agreed with more than 30 partners this innovation strategy. And in this covenant, we also show the possibilities within Horizon Europe. On top of this existing innovation policy, my team, but broader in the ministry and also with other ministers, we are working on a strategy to strengthen to strengthen research and innovation systems. So we look in the Netherlands ecosystems. So we look at the capacity of Dutch regions, where were they good at, and what are the best ecosystems to set up. And in this setting, we also look at European and international possibilities. So we have clear results of our innovation policies, like car that run on water, irrigation system that anticipate on weather conditions, sunlight made of solar cells, etc. And we also try really to look at the regional innovation policy. I think everybody knows that in the Netherlands we get a very small structural funds envelope, but still the ERDF money which we receive, we really try to link to our national innovation policy. So when we co-fund something as the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs, we really look at which top sector it serves and also which key enabling technologies are used. I think a good example of this is the hydrogen booster in the northern part of the Netherlands. Yeah. This is funded by the ERDF, but this hydrogen booster is part of the Hydro Hub or the Hydrogen Valley, which is then financed from Horizon 2020. And as I said, my team is also responsible for the Just Transition Fund, so in the future we will really look at the possibilities there.
Okay. Okay, Sabine, thank you very much. Can I stop you?
Yeah, I only had a very small, I think, I was almost finished. I only had some small hiccups, but I will close, and I hope that it really works in practice, the strategies which are developed by the Commission on paper.
Okay, thank you very much. No, I mean, I think start with the strategy, think about the financing afterwards. It's something I'm preaching everywhere. It's not always difficult. People don't like to hear it all the time. And I think the single point of contact is also very interesting. Professor Marx Gernot, could I turn to you now? You're going to talk to us for 5 minutes, hopefully, about innovative procurement in healthcare, some of the very interesting, innovative things that you've been doing to get results from research. Please.
Yes, thank you very much, Paul. I love to do, and good afternoon to everybody. So can I have my first slide, please? So I'm head of the Department of Intensive Care at the University Hospital in Aachen. And so you get here now information from the area where we fight for life of our patients and trying to bring them back to life. And obviously, there we have a mission really to try to bring innovations directly to the patients. And here, obviously, digitization is a huge opportunity, and we wanted to use the funding schemes available as good as possible. Just a quick information about our hospital. So it's a 1,500-bedded hospital. My department comprises out of 100 beds, 75 ventilator beds, and we are looking about 5,000 patients each year in our institution. But we wanted to spread out and to make to spread out our university expertise to regional hospitals and to build up really a medical and technology regional center of expertise and to try to combine all the different issues. Next one. And for that, obviously, we funded our Aachen Telemedicine Center. And we started with a regional fund from our regional government in North Rhine-Westphalia with a pilot project or proving whether telemedicine in intensive care is a beneficial thing. And we really could show initially that we can save extra lives, especially in sepsis patient or severely ill patient. And our vision now was that we wanted to spread out this goal and trying to bring this advantage to many patients all over Germany and Europe. So we try to build up our research and innovation capacities, and therefore, obviously, you need a lot of funding. And also, we wanted to bring new technology, new ideas, and we had this idea of having a new product, an ICU cockpit, bringing all our digital information from the documentation and the patients from the monitors and to having automatic alarms, early alarms, and also big data analysis, enabling us to provide better care. And therefore we used the EU funding scheme pre-commercial procurement, and now public procurement of innovative solutions, this Talea project. This is now ready for the market, not only for us here in Aachen and Germany, but European-wide. And this enables us really to expand our use cases, our networks, and to roll out in the region, in Germany and at EU level. And I'm very happy, next slide please, that we have, beside other projects here, you can see we had quite a few projects on regional level, on national level, and also on EU level, that we really can combine to make the most out of it, which brings really, or which enables us to bring really innovative ideas to the patient bedside. And last slide, all these research and innovation projects in intensive care is always having the beneficial that we can prove it directly. And what we always want, not only to make nice PowerPoint slides, but we want really to benefit our patient, to save extra lives. And nowadays, you all know what intensive care is about since Corona pandemic and COVID-19. And I'm particularly happy that we have got just received our next EU-funded project. And this is showing you directly the benefit of the synergies between different funding schemes, because we can now use our developed ICU cockpit to fight COVID-19, and we can scale up and exploit this new product on European level at 8 ICU digital hubs in the next coming months. And we can directly fight COVID-19, which is obviously threatening many, many lives in Europe. And I do hope that we can, as a result of the synergies in telemedicine and digital medicine, save in the next upcoming months more lives than we have been already in the intensive care unit. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, pre-commercial public procurement, innovative public procurement, I think offers a lot of possibilities. I know it's not easy to get started at it, and you're a real expert on that, so I am sure that many people will be interested in that in the past. But the advantage of innovative public procurement is that if you know exactly what you want, but you're not quite sure how to get there, this is perhaps the best solution for you. The standard grant management, standard grant management is much more, I'm not quite sure what I want yet. If you know what you want, but you're not quite sure how to get there, pre-commercial public procurement, innovative public procurement, I think is really the answer. Thank you very much. Larry Evans, you are on the mission board for Oceans, which we heard about this morning, anyone who's listening. Missions are very, 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 very new, but very, very exciting possibility in Horizon Europe. Please, what do you think about this subject of synergies?
Okay, thank you, Paul, and hello, everybody. Let me start perhaps with your keyword, Paul, of strategy, and then contextualize missions in that. I think the missions are hoping to be hugely disruptive of strategy, both at policy level and political level. So, for example, the Ocean Mission. In general, I think it's fair to say that healthy waters and oceans are taken for granted, but actually it's out of sight, out of mind, not measured, not managed. People don't really know. In reality, oceans and waters are in trouble, and that has a direct impact on the tackling climate change priority. And unless we actually put ocean at the centre of policy, at the centre of strategy, we won't be able to tackle, for example, the climate change crisis effectively enough. So the first concept of missions that needs to be understood is that we are now calling for very radical systemic change of policy, change of politics. So it's not a static. Because there is this lack of knowledge, lack of understanding of ocean, and indeed the other missions is identical in this respect, there has been so far huge political and financial underinvestment. The political underinvestment largely derives from people, normal people, not knowing enough about the ocean and waters and not knowing enough about why it's important and what can be done and what solutions the oceans can provide. So the politicians don't care if the people don't care. So this is one huge dilemma. The other dimension, of course, it's linked, partly linked, is the financial underinvestment. The reality is that we cannot have huge systemic change unless there is hugely more financial investment, money, euro. So partly it's public and partly it's private. So the public can leverage the private, or the technology and innovation, the research agenda can actually derive new technological opportunities that are business opportunities. But this leads me to another word that you should be emphasizing more, Paul, I think, governance. So strategy is one thing. The governance dimension is about how do the really high-level politicians, I'm talking about the heads of state, actually help to reset the political direction. So one of the mission objectives is to really put all of these key areas on the political agenda next year. There's urgency. And only then really can we start to identify how the synergies will come into play. So there are many potential synergies on the existing programs. But if we haven't got a fix on what are the strategic objectives, the high-level political endorsement of political objectives, it's almost too soon to talk about strategy and what can be used to do what. So again, for example, in the Ocean Mission report now, we are actually recommending massively more investment, both private and public, in one of the annexes to the report. But that won't happen unless there is political endorsement up front and urgently. And then the second dimension is there is likely to be need for regulatory change as well, both at the European level and the member state level, so that the signalling to business is clear enough. So, for example, the renewable energy strategy, that was set too long ago. It's not fit for purpose now. If, for tackling climate change purposes, we need to speed up the move away from oil and gas, and then accelerate the investment in ocean energy and accelerate the technological progress on new ocean energy like wave energy, then that needs a political commitment now, but it also needs legislation. It needs new targets at European Union level that will actually generate a lot more private investment. So I'm avoiding your question in the first instance today, but we can get into more detail later, perhaps.
Thank you very much. No, I mean, when Pascal Lamy was presenting the Oceans Mission this morning, he didn't talk a lot about research. That's absolutely certain. It was more about regulatory change. Philippe Mengal, so I came to see you a little while ago, and very interesting to talk to you. Gave me a lot of new ideas. Can you tell us how it's looking from the point of view of partnerships? Synergies look from the point of view of partnerships. Hello, Philippe.
Yes, good afternoon, Paul. Thank you very much for inviting me in this session to share the experience of the BBIJU. And why I'm speaking, trying to share something else, which is my screen. And apparently it doesn't work. So sorry for this. So I will make it without the few slides that were prepared. Maybe to start, can I say a few words about what the bio-based industry joint undertaking is about, so that we can better understand why establishing a synergy is essential at different levels. So BBIJU is a public-private partnership between the European Commission and the bio-based industry represented by BIC, the Bio-Based Industry Consortium. Altogether, they have a budget of 3.7 billion euro to fund research and innovation program in order to contribute to build a sustainable bio-based industry in Europe. And to do so, the BBIJU implements the strategic innovation and research agenda developed by BIC and approved by the European Commission. So immediately from the very beginning, you can see that the nature of a joint undertaking makes synergies with industry, regions, and other sources of funding absolutely essential. So a PPP is based on synergies also because we have to deal with a wide diversity of stakeholders. Furthermore, where a joint undertaking is an EU body, we are a small organization that have to be very reactive, proactive, and which is forced to capitalize on synergies, also in particular synergies with our two founding partners. Let me now give a few very concrete examples. First, a very good example is the synergy with other program, and in particular the joint working group between the BBI-JU and Spire, which is a co-program public-private partnership. Synergies and complementarities between the two public-private partnerships have been developed since the very beginning of the implementation of the program in 2015, and the added value of cooperation between the initiative are really now demonstrated. Initially, the main objective was to maximize synergies among both initiatives while avoiding overlap in terms of topic coverage and funding. To be honest, it was really what triggered the initiative, but then the joint working group evolved with an approach at three levels. The first level is the strategic level by incorporating synergies and complementarities in each respective research program, work program, and therefore call proposal. So to align the two strategic innovation and research agenda. The second level is the implementation level, where we connect related funded projects in the separate code from each other, and this across the boundaries of each public-private partnership. And the third level is the communication and networking level, where we support the cooperation and networking between the two initiatives, and this to maximize the impact and to benefit the whole industry members of both partnerships. Another example is of synergy at more strategic level is the way the Vision 2050 for a circular bio-based society was developed. And there, the private partner of the BBI not only capitalized on a joint working group with Spire, but also involved in this exercise 15 other organizations involved in the exercise. Another example is synergies with a region for the purpose of promotion and deployment. And there we use a lot our members of the state representative group, which is one of the two advisory body of the joint undertaking. An initiative that was taken was to be closer to regions in area where the program was not enough present. Another concrete example is that we signed an MOU with different Polish regions to do more promotion of the program, but mobilize actors locally. And the result, of course, it took 2-3 years to observe concrete results, but what I can say in the last call we just closed is that we see an increase by 60% of the participation of new member states. Two examples to conclude, the synergies with other sources of funding. We have signed in the last 2 years memorandum of understanding with the European Investment Bank, with the EBRD, and very focused on our area of intervention. We have now signed an MOU with the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund. And this is directly a link with the BBI-JU Synergy label. The BBI-JU Synergy label is a new pilot initiative that was launched last year in order to recognize the value and excellence of innovation action proposal submitted in the BBI-JU call, qualified but not retained for funding, simply because of the limit of the budget. Why did we focus on those innovation action? For two reasons. Because there we can clearly identify where the investment is intended to be done. And second, because those actions are very close to the market, so expected to have socio-economic and environmental impact. And to support that, and I will conclude, the partnership, the MOU signed with other source of funding, EIB, ECBF, EBRD, really enable to make it alive. The first Synergy Label awardees were awarded during the RNI Day last year, and the second award ceremony will be organized the 6th of October with, again, some wonderful projects we are so happy to accompany. And I will conclude on this last example. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And no, that's great. I mean, all four of you have been very much focused on how do we get real results, not just the research results, but rolling it out in practice, and that's very important. I'm just looking at a few questions here. A few people had, how do we combine national programs in Horizon Europe? The biggest part is called strategic planning. That's what a big novelty in Horizon Europe. Every member state is represented in the group that looks at this strategic planning. Together they work out what are the priorities for research over the next years, and member states can link to that. And I know some are, because some of them have called me and said, we are going to work exactly along the same lines, align our priorities with what you're doing. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. Capacity building in the EU 13, I mean, I think there'll be more possibilities in Horizon Europe, but perhaps still not enough. There will also be possibilities to transfer funds from the regional funds to Horizon Europe to support researchers in EU 13 countries, and I hope that a certain number of countries will use those possibilities. Why are synergies important, somebody says? Because the research budget will never be enough to do enough research, and it will never be enough to get research to the market or to societal change. That's why we've got to have synergies. There are many programs around, a lot of financing possibilities around, a lot of innovative possibilities, but we've got to link those together. Laura, you're in the mission, and it strikes me sometimes that grants are a little bit unfocused for what the missions really need. And I was just wondering, you've heard about innovative public procurement from Gernot Marx. What do you think? Is that a possibility? Might that help in what you're trying to do?
Absolutely. Innovative public procurement, the main focus for that for me in this context would be its role in creating new markets, which is absolutely possible within the current legislative framework. So if there is a new technology which is really promising, and especially if there's potential for European technological or industrial lead, then the next stage should really be innovative public procurement. So basically this is indirect subsidization at the time when the market needs to be created, when you need to build scale. It's not about demonstration projects, it's beyond that. It's about creating the market with more or less proven technology. And this provision of this encouraging creation of new markets at scale and at speed is one of Europe's big industrial competitive weaknesses compared to, for example, China. So absolutely spot on.
Okay, thank you. Sabine, have you been working with partnerships, or do you see the possibility to work with partnerships for the future?
Yeah, no, I think we are very busy in my team at the moment on the partnership and answering the letter which we received from the Commission. And I think this is really a great way to also achieve these synergies. We just had an extra national budgetary round, and in this budgetary round we managed to get extra co-financing for these partnerships. So we really carefully look how these partnerships help us with our national innovation policy.
Okay. Just another question here. How can the EIC help to offer companies scale up their activities? Well, that's what it's for. The EIC, as well as offering potential grant support, can also offer loans, interest rate subsidies, perhaps even buy some shares. But also the EIC is designed, when you finish an EIC project, the people there will help you to find additional sources of funding, either via the EIB or possibly other banking sources. And if you apply to the EIB, you have a good project, but it can't be funded, or perhaps it's not really research. So there's other ways. There are procedures put in place to try to send you to the right place of InvestEU that will be able to help you. So a little bit similar to what Philippe is trying to do with the Seal of Excellence label that he has, the seal of saying, you haven't got the money, but how can we find some other way of supporting you? And I think that there are so many good projects out there that it's absolutely important. Geno Marx, have you found it really very difficult to do innovative public procurement? Is it technically very difficult to do, or have you managed to find a fairly efficient way to run these programs now?
Well, it was another example to being a pilot. So our project was one of the 12 pilots, and indeed we together were facing really challenges, but we are always solution orientated, and I think we paved the way for the later projects to ease up the whole process. But we were always convinced that this is really exactly how you commented previously, that this is really an option when you have a vision about a product which is important. This is the way to realize it, to bring it in practice. Yeah.
No, I know you've worked very hard on that. Philippe, one of your ideas for the future is looking more at bio-based from fishing products. Do you see that as part of the Oceans mission? Can that link to the Ocean missions? Have you started to think about that?
No, we have been doing more than thinking about that. In fact, in the current BBIJU, at the very beginning, what we call the blue economy was not at all in the agenda, simply because the initiative started with companies and organizations that were ready to launch that. Immediately it appears after 2 years that the blue bioeconomy should be covered, and now that's the case. And I can tell you that for the possible successor of the BBIJU, so Circular Bio-Based Europe, under the next framework program, blue bioeconomy and ocean are really at the very heart of what we will do as a potential source of a feedstock, of sustainable feedstock. Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. So I have another question talking about we need to map the different financing methods that are available. And it's possible we do. And we can do better on that, I'm sure. But that's what I want to say, and I hope what you've got also from the speakers here, that we need to think about where we want to go first. And where I've seen successful synergies, it's come about from, first of all, a strategy. Where do we want to go? A lot of networking. So you talk to so many people, because you perhaps, if you're a researcher out there, I understand you find it all very complicated. There are 20, 30, 50 schemes for financing. But if you talk to a lot of people, you network with a lot of people in your region, you'll find people who are already specialists in that area. So rather than a researcher having to map all this, I think it's better to try and use the expertise of other people. And I've seen some very, very good examples of that within the regional funds. People in regions who have actually made the effort to try and bring all this together. And have you seen that, Sabine? Do you see that, of the networking as being really important to get this financing streams and to get the policies and the programs running?
Yeah, well, that's what we try to do in our ministry, indeed in our directorate. But the last part of my intervention was that we also see the difficulties. As long as you have different management modes, it remains a problem. This is also what I see in the Netherlands. Also, it's because it's a bit bizarre for me that we get a lot of money from Horizon as a country, but since this ERDF money is in direct management of the regions, they perceive it as more important. But we try also for the next period to streamline communication and have like one contact point there that we communicate also about the ERDF projects and Horizon projects like in one portal.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very big challenge. Okay, Julien, do you have any thoughts? Julien Guerrier, by the way, is my director of Directorate A in the European Commission, responsible for strategic planning and budget and synergies, missions, partnerships, so a big field. What do you think?
Well, thanks a lot, Paul, and I would like to thank very warmly all our speakers this morning for a very rich discussion on what is a very topical subject, synergies. It is very topical. I mean, it's being debated at the highest political level in the Commission, in the Parliament. We have member states discussing it right now. And one of the reasons for which it is so topical is probably because there is a general impression that it hasn't worked properly so far. We need a step change, and I think Laurie Evans put it extremely well, a step change in our policy and politics. We need to agree first on what are the overarching policy objectives that we have, and then look at how our different instruments can all contribute together to those political objectives. That's what we're trying to do with the missions, and that's something very novel in Horizon Europe or in the way we are conducting policy in the Commission. Sabine Klock also underlined that we now have a strong arsenal, which is very new, to facilitate synergies between programs. We have this Annex IV in the regulation for Horizon Europe, where we set out a framework to enable synergies between the programs. We have built-in synergies in the partnerships, and Philippe Mengal has illustrated how this is already starting to work in practice. We have the missions as a new broad policy instrument, but we need now to make sure that we can deliver in practice. And for that, we need to be working on governance. Within the Commission, we need to see how we can jointly together break the silos and program together the various instruments that we have a joint programmation, a co-programmation, a parallel programmation, where we're all involved in the programmation of Horizon, but also of EU for Health, Digital Europe, etc. There is a challenge that has been underlined by Sabine Klock in the new programs that we have, and that may lead to overlaps, but there is also an opportunity there to see how the Just Transition Fund, for instance, or the Recovery and Resilience Facility can actually build on these synergies and contribute to the political objectives that we will have agreed. So now the onus is on us in the Commission and with the Member States and the Parliament to make sure that the arsenal we've put in place and our good intentions will actually deliver in practice through effective governance in programming our various instruments. So we'll have to come back to you in a couple of years and present how this is working in practice and what are the achievements that we've been able to reach.
No, thank you. Sometimes it does seem like hard work for me, but I think a talk like today inspires me again to go back to my office now and get on with it. So really, thank you very much to you four people. We have another session tomorrow where Philippe will be as well, talking about how we link with the private sector a little bit more than the Commission programmes. I'm sorry if I haven't answered any of the questions. Please feel free to either mail me directly or to use one of the facilities that you have on the R&I Days website to contact me or one of my colleagues. We can certainly get back to you. As I say, just go back to the beginning. I think strategy, governance, all these things can be a little bit boring, governance, but it's absolutely vital. Think about the strategy, the finance follows, and that's really the cry from me and something that we really have to work on very hard. I'm just coming to the last minute. We've had to stop it a little bit short because they have to clean up a little bit, but thank you very much to the speakers. Thank you very much, Julien. Thank you very much to the several colleagues that you can't see around here behind the desk and the cameras. It's really a big operation here at Square Aumont in Brussels, but it's all worked very well for this. Thank you very much to everybody, and have a good afternoon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Larry.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.